Hello friends, and welcome to another fun playthrough we're doing here. So what we're looking at today is a little bit of a different game. It's a story type game, and it's written by what I consider a very interesting author named Christine Love. She has a very interesting history on her website, and I'll put a link to that in the description of each of these videos. But basically she aspired to be an author and somehow wound up making games, which honestly I can see the correlation. There has to be story writers for games, there has to be people involved in making those, and this I believe this is one of her earlier works from 2010. I know it's older, but I was looking over a list today of games you absolutely have to play, and the whole retro style of this, even with it being in 2010, the whole feel of this game just really got the old nostalgia going. Looking at this is the start of the game, by the way. This is how it loads. This is what you get. You get basically what looks like an old Commodore boot up with the AMI workbench from 1988, and this is all too familiar to me. Now, basically this game takes place on bulletin board systems, or they were also known BBSs. This was the era of computing that I came up in, so the whole concept of this really appealed to me quite a bit. And after reading a little bit about it, I really had to give it a playthrough. I know this game's been done many times before by many other people, but that doesn't mean we can't play it as well. And it is completely free, which is also a benefit. So we're gonna give it a run through. It's not a very long game. I think we're probably only gonna end up spending about an hour playing it, but in that hour, hopefully we learn something, because it's supposed to be a game about love and about intrigue and about conspiracy, as I understand it. I watched a couple playthroughs of it to decide whether this game was going to be worth it, and I did not watch much because I didn't want to ruin or influence the story in any way, but I wanted to understand how to play it, because it doesn't really come with a lot of documentation. It pretty much just boots you up into here and asks if you want to run or abort, and of course we want to run, because that probably means to go into it, and abort probably means to quit. So we're going to dive into this now without me describing it further, because I'm afraid that I'll misrepresent Christine Love, and honestly, after looking over her website and reading a lot of what she's doing, the uniqueness of what she's put together and some of her other things, it really made me want to make you guys aware of her and what she's doing. So definitely something you want to check out. There's a few of my viewers who I'm doing this in particular for, because I think they would be very attracted to the style of writing that she does, and the depth to which she puts into her stories, and the unusual content. Looks like she's done, I'm thinking, 3 games that are older, and then a new series, but I'm not sure how much I could get into the new series that she's done, because some of the content is a little bit more racy than I want to deal with. I know some of my viewers are a little younger, so I don't want to have to put an adult warning and an age restriction on a playthrough. So I do tend to stay away from those. That's one of the things that's been preventing me from playing The Secret World, is the content is a little unfettered, and we definitely don't want to have to shut out some of the viewers, because I mean, all you guys are important to me, and I want to do things you can watch as a whole, and there's plenty of games out there I can play, and if I can figure out a good way to do The Secret World, I definitely want to do a series on that, because that is an awesome game. I don't fully understand it yet, so I need to get back into it and do a little more playing. But what I have played of it, I've really enjoyed. But let's stop talking about other games and let's focus on the game at hand. I did contact Christine Love and asked her for permission to do this review, and she was kind enough to answer me back and told me that was fine, that I could go ahead and do it. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to give it a fair run through. We're going to do a let's play, and we're probably going to do a little bit of a review at the same time. So it's going to kind of be a universal thing. I'm going to break this up into, let's say 15-minute episodes, as close to 15 minutes as we can go. And then I'll do it over the series. We'll put it out 15-minute episodes, one day at a time until it ends. I think we're probably going to get about an hour out of this. So we're looking maybe 6, 7, 8 episodes, maybe 9. We'll see. Anyway, without further ado, let's get our operating system started and we will run. And what is your screen name? We'll go with our standard screen name. And what is your real name? Don't worry, this information will be shared with anyone else, so be honest. Basically, I think I need to tone down my volume a little bit. So hopefully we'll get to the point where we can tone down volume. This game does not go out on the internet, so whatever you put into it, you're playing it like like you're just telling an AI what your name is so it can respond back to you. So don't worry about what you put in here. And we'll do our last name. And we're going to turn the music off because it's nice and it's bouncy and it's fun, but it's quite distracting. And as I understand it, the game expects you to take notes. So let me get a blank notepad up in case we need to do that. And if I don't, I will definitely tell you I didn't need to do this, but as I'm starting this, I'm opening Notepad and shrinking it down so we can put information in it if we have to keep track of stuff. Because with this being like a complex story, we may need to make notes. I'll let you know if I write anything down. If I don't write it down, then if you don't hear me saying I'm writing all this stuff down, then you probably know you don't have to do this. But I will make a note of when I write things down. So I can't say whether the things I write down are going to be specific to my playthrough or whether the universal, because this is the first time I played this game, because I want you guys to have my initial reaction to everything. So the only thing we have open and ready to go is messages. So let's take a look at our messages. Welcome to your new AMI. Okay, let's open this. Say, congratulations, you've got your brand new AMI workbench up and running. Here are a few things you need to know to get started. To close a window, click on the square icon in the top left corner. Downloaded applications appear on your desktop. Click their icons to open them. Save your system state or load a previous one, just click the disk icon at the top of the screen. To adjust the volume, display mode, or change personal information, or shut down your computer, click the pinwheel at the top of the screen. We hope you enjoy your new computer. AMI Microsystems, 1988. Alright, so let's do that now. Volume. And we're going to want to turn that down as well. Let's see if the music is a little more tolerable now. Might need a little more volume. Yeah, it's picking it up, so we'll leave it go. It does climb quite a bit. Alright, we're just going to have to turn this off. I'm sorry. It's kind of... I know I have the recording volume turned down, but no matter what I set the sound to, it's just blasting in my ears, and it's very hard to focus on what I'm doing. So we're gonna have to leave the music off. I really had hoped I could play one game and leave the music on, but this one's a little bit. I mean, if I wasn't recording, it would be awesome. but having to talk over that sound in my ears is very difficult. It's very fitting because back in the day, the computers in this era, that kind of music was very popular, and we did things on the Amiga called demos, and they were graphical and musical compilations. And it was like fractals and ambient music and in a really 8-bit style. So that was the original one. So I mean, they got more advanced as time went by, of course, but a lot of MIDI music and things like that. That was pretty much what we had back then. MP3s weren't really a thing, so yeah, probably a lot of guys out there can't relate to that. But a long time ago, we didn't have MP3s. We plugged our CDs into dinosaurs, and that recorded it. All right, on to my false history lesson and back into the game. Using your new modem. All right, so I actually had a situation in real life where I had to go buy a modem. And I went into the store, and none of the guys behind the counter knew what a modem was. So if you're not sure what a modem is, it's well, you probably will be, because it's, you know what a cable modem is and a DSL modem. It's virtually the same thing, except it uses your phone line. None of those guys in the store had any idea what it was, and this is supposed to be a computer store, so I just wanted to make it clear that the modem that we would be talking about here is very similar to what you use now, but a little bit different because it uses your phone line. And when we get to that point, I do know what it does when you use it, so I will let you know my thoughts on that. Using your new modem. Say, wait, so you set up your computer, you got your computer set up. I thought, throw in a little something extra. There's a dialer for your modem attached to this message. If you plug it into the phone line, you can use it to dial BBSs. So bulletin board systems were this huge network, well, not network, most of them weren't networked together. This was this huge collection, that's a better way of putting it, of what would be today forums. They had discussion groups, and a lot of them shared files and different things of that nature. So you would call one up, and you could get in there, and you could look at things that basically you could look at on the internet now on Reddit. So if you take a few of the subreddits on Reddit and you group them into special interest, like authors, books, new releases, things of that nature, and you put them on one system that you called with your computer on the phone, it would be like a writing interest bulletin board. There were all different kinds of bulletin boards with all different kinds of special interests that you could dial into, and most of them only had a single line. There was a collection of them that had multiple lines, and that came a little bit later in the history, but most of them were single lines. You dial into this bulletin board, and you could read the messages that people had posted there, just like Reddit, basically. And then you'd sign off, and someone else would log on, and they could see the other messages as well as your messages, and they could reply to them if you wanted to. So eventually they got networked together. They all got on the internet. It was a great day when all the bulletin boards started getting on the internet. It was a sad day when most of them went away, though. So we're going to write down this number. I don't know if we're going to need it, but I'm going to write it down because some of these games are very good about telling you information and expecting you to take care of it yourself. So we're going to write down that 6985519. This will be our first note, and we'll see if we actually need it. And then we're going to click on this download attachment. And that was really quick. So it's very small. So now we're going to exit out. We're going to exit out of our messages because we don't have any more. So we got enough time. We're going to load up the dialer. And yes, we did need to write down that number. So with your phone and the modem, you could put in a number of a bulletin board system, which was just a regular phone number, which had a modem on the other end. And I would have to directly call that number to connect to that modem. And I apologize for all the people who do know about modems and what they do. But there are a number of people who are too young to remember what modems are. So I'm trying to go into as much depth as possible in detail so that you understand the technology, the era that this is coming out of, and what exactly is going on and how special this actually was. Nowadays, you're always on the internet. You couldn't always be on a bulletin board, because if you were always on it, then nobody else could get on it, and that kind of defeated the purpose. But then you click on dial, and this was a typical simple dialer program. You put in the phone number, and you could usually save them to a phone list, and then you would write the name of it next to it, and so you would know what it was called. And they usually had very fantasy sounding names like the Dark Tower and so and so's domain and things of that nature, Sunken Cove and stuff like that. But you would call it that in there, and you would put the number in there, and usually you would not know what the number is because you just know it by name. And then you would click dial, and then your modem will actually dial the phone. Now, I'm not going to go into the technical description about what happens when a modem connects to a phone line, because this is not a tech channel. I could, but I'm not going to. Just suffice to say that for those people who have never used an actual modem before, this is the sound that we would hear when we called a bulletin board. And believe me, this is way quicker than it would have been back in the day. You would have seen this load up, and it would go chook, 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 chook like a typewriter across the screen. All right, so SysOp is a system operator, and his name is Jay Rook. It's open 24 hours a day, and this one has 2 lines. The logo was designed by Devi Zero. This is a 1200, 2400 baud bulletin board. So you can connect to this at 1200 or 2400. There were a number of different speeds that we went through. Started out with 110 baud, which wasn't very popular. It's usually used with ATMs and things like that. And by ATMs, I mean automatic teller machines to communicate. And it was just very slow, but had a lot of good CRC checking because it wasn't very fast. The typical home use modem was a 300 baud modem. My first one was a 300 baud with an acoustic coupler. So you would I don't need to get into that. Then we went to 1200 baud, which was quite a jump from 300. And then 2400, and then there were a series of speeds that came through over the years, that some of which standards didn't stick, but it went to 14.4, 19.2, 38.4, and then you got up into DSL, and then you got up into cable modems, and then you got up in T1s and things like that. So here's the phone number, and we already have that here, which I love when they put the phone number on the bulletin board ad because, we just dialed it. But hey, you would post these on other boards so that people knew where to call, because this was also your advertisement. So that's why that's there. Hosted by Super BBS, which would be the software that he is running on his computer at home. So this computer that he has this on in the story world is being used pretty much exclusively to run this bulletin board system. So if you wanted a computer for your house and you wanted to run a bulletin board system, you would have to have usually 2 computers, one to run a bulletin board system and one to do all your other stuff. No doors. Doors would be games and other little utilities that you could run that were fun little things. Like there were some food fight games and some Mafia Wars games and things of that nature that were door games. And then there were some utilities that you could go into that did different things. So no doors, no BS, just your best connection in all of Lake City. So I guess we live in Lake City because this was a local call. And you could make calls to bulletin board systems locally. You could also make long distance calls, but you were charged for the long distance call. You could also make international calls, but you were charged extremely high amounts for that. Don't ask me how I know that. Anyway, I'm going to end this now because we've connected to our first bulletin board system, and I've explained the history of ancient computing. So we've gone on a bit of a journey today. So hopefully you've enjoyed this part of it. And if you did, tune in tomorrow to see what happens. But in the meantime, go check out the link, download the game yourself so you can play along with us. And that's the main reason why I'm stopping here. I know I went a bit over our 15-minute time, but I wanted to fill in some of the... I know I have a lot of guys who've watched my videos who are a little younger, and I wanted to give them more background so they could understand what was going on better, because I know a lot of the guys who are younger have never experienced this sort of technology, and I didn't want to lose you. So if you want to play the game, I will make a link to it, and I will make a link to Christine Love's webpage so you can take a look at it. And definitely some fascinating, interesting reading there. She's quite the character, so you will enjoy that. But tune in tomorrow when we actually start the story, and hopefully I'll stop babbling about technology. And I will see you guys later. Thanks.